Welcome back to the news at 10. Nigeria's oil exports have increased in the last couple of months, but this was not taken into consideration in the recent World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Index, which ranked Nigeria 127th of 144 countries profiled. This error in statistics was pointed out by an economic analyst, Mr. Johnson Chukwu. Mr. Chukwu told Channels Television in an interview in Lagos that even though the country is still largely dependent on oil, the data used to compile the report may not have been updated. Our business correspondent, Harriet Agbeyin, reports.
Every year since 2004, the World Economic Forum has used the Global Competitiveness Index, GCI, to measure and determine the productivity and economic competitiveness of countries, regions, and cities. The GCI scores are calculated based on 12 pillars of competitiveness, including improved institutions, infrastructure, health, and primary education. In the last 5 years, Nigeria has not performed well, and the latest ranking has caused more than a few palpitations and drawn attention to some of the issues raised.
I'm actually a bit concerned that at the time when all the indices actually seem to be going well for Nigeria, you look at basically in terms of the economic indices for the country, as well as basically the growth rate, which even the World Economic Forum also confirmed. I actually expected to actually see a much improved position actually basically being presented for Nigeria.
What's been playing against Nigeria has been three things. One is infrastructure, poor infrastructure development. The second one is corruption. And the third one is access to finance.
Your institutions, you're not paying enough attention to them. You're not paying enough attention to health and primary education. You're not paying enough attention to political stability and these other things. Now, is that a perception issue or is it reality? I would like to suggest that a lot of these indicators under these areas are the reality. That is how it is.
But the National Competitiveness Council of Nigeria says the report is based on indicators that do not reflect the present or near future, including the rebasing of the economy and much lower poverty levels than projected, stressing that Nigeria's security position, which was one of the major negative factors in the ranking, was not as bad as some other countries which were rated better than Nigeria. Some say otherwise.
If you say Nigeria has grown year on year at more than 6% for the last 10 years, for the last how many years? So does that make us more competitive when the growth has not been inclusive?
But if we do not also pay very serious attention to the drivers of the economy, particularly the drivers of business, of business growth, our business performance, we're likely not to go too far, even with the big size of the economy.
Despite this ranking, foreign investment inflow is expected to grow.
Capital looks for profit, and the rate of return on capital in Nigeria is very high. It's quite high. So if a typical investor, while noting this thing, still think that at the end of the day, he could still have a good return on his capital, he can still come in.
There's also a more positive side to this.
There's so much that's been done on the financial side of things, and I think that the momentum has been there, and it is likely going to continue. On the labor side of things, I think a whole lot has to be done. Yes, we have this improvement because it's exactly what is working against South Africa. If you look at the key factor that is depressing South Africa's social performance is restrictions on labor. We have that advantage. They don't have it.
I believe that as a country, we've actually made efforts over the last few years, but I think we need to demonstrate a greater commitment to basically showing the rest of the world that Nigeria is actually open for business, and our commitment to actually creating a more robust platform for doing business is actually not without doubt.
Nigeria has definitely got an advantage over most of these African countries ranked, and it is important that this is played off, while ongoing reforms in some parameters highlighted that hamper the global competitiveness ranking of the country, including improved institutions and infrastructure, continue. Harriet Agbeyin, reporting for Channels Television News.
Scientists have revealed that vaccinated monkeys have developed a long-term immunity to the Ebola virus disease. This raises hopes of good treatment prospect for humans using a vaccine being developed by the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and pharmaceutical company GlaxoSmithKline. The vaccine uses a genetically modified chimp virus containing components which is currently circulating in West Africa. Scientists say the vaccine does not replicate inside the body, but they hope the immune system will react to the Ebola components of the vaccine and develop immunity. Let's come now to neighboring Ogun State, where the government says it's looking forward to a good working relationship with indigents in the diaspora. Addressing the gathering at the 5th Biennial Convention of the Egba National Association of the United States and Canada, the wife of the governor, Mrs. Olufunso Amosun, explained the programs and policies of the President's administration, especially in infrastructure and welfare of workers. Those areas, she says, need no additional marketing. She also asked the various professionals living abroad to think about returning and contributing to the development of the state and the country.
I would like to implore you that you should come back home. There's a brain drain in Nigeria. There is a brain drain in Nigeria. As you have rightly said, you all have so much to offer, but you're not bringing it back home. You've lived in countries where everything works and everything is right and things are as they're supposed to be, but you've not brought it back to Nigeria. Please come home. We need you. Nigeria needs you. There is no need for fear. What I would say to us is, whatever it is you do while you're in the so-called diaspora, please perfect it. In the Nigeria of today, excellence is actually acknowledged. If you cannot work through government, then please come back home and prove to the society and the community that you live in.
And now to the arts. Fuel scarcity, that's one scenario Nigerians will not want to see in a very long time. But Pavidon Matthias revisits this subject at the Osh Gallery in Lagos. Through art installations and printing, he captures this moment with engaging props. One of them is the popular jerry can. For him, the big picture is to explore the ability of some people to hoard in the midst of plenty. Art Review tonight takes a look at the black market, an exhibition by Pavidon Matthias.
One young artist who is fascinated with this imagery is Pavidon Matthias. He captured it in this exhibition tagged Black Market at the Osh Gallery, Lagos.
So I created an effect in the sense of the whole scarcity, the whole idea of queue. And then I looked for an iconic image, and that's the downfall buses. So I used the jerry can simplicity to just illustrate how terrible this whole queue is. So the downfall are all queued up, going, and you know how unorderly the downfall people are. But they're all queued up, going, ranging all the way to the drawings.
The jerry can is his primary tool, and it's no surprise considering what he intends to achieve.
The process was intended to create faces, a reaction out of my people, especially Nigerians that are going through this hardship of scarcity. So the process was creating a masked-like type of face of them and then adding pressure onto these forms. So I used a burning process to deform and distort them.
Which has been, seen from a very psychological angle, the need for man to always hoard, even in the midst of plenty. So it's a natural human vice. It's inherent in everybody to always think about themselves first. But on a larger scale, the negatives are more than the positives.
He uses this thought-provoking subject to drive his message home as he strategically creates a scenario where the viewer is subconsciously drawn into an organized disharmony of props, drawings, lighting, and text, engaging with his rebuilding of the black market.
Based on the subject matter, I made an experiment of taking handkerchiefs and soaking it in petrol and bleeding it over and over again over a canvas so it twirled together. And this particular experiment worked because I've always been fascinated, always looking at the aspect of how black marketers use handkerchiefs and other processes to create effects on the jerry cans that we use or run to go and buy petrol from.
The work creates a link between the domino effect of the unavailability of petrol and other salient realities that upset the everyday life of a Nigerian.
My influences basically are from the Dada period, Marcel Duchamp, and Banksy is a contemporary artist in the UK right now. I was influenced by the Dada movement because during the First World War, or right after, they discovered that all functions and disciplines of our society were not working. So they broke free from the concept and the body of your traditional arts and used found objects to express themselves. So I'm using found objects to express the discomfort, the feeling that I get based on scarcity. So these found objects, I used jerry can as my major canvas to explain and illustrate this because every one of us in Nigeria, whether you're rich, whether you are poor, whether you're in the middle class, wherever you are, in whatever discipline you find yourself, we all have jerry cans in our homes.
This theme caught the eye of the African Artists Foundation. That's why he was picked to be a part of the Maker New Contemporaries, a platform created for young artists to showcase their portfolios to the world. The Osh Gallery, which opened its doors to host this lot, is also eager to see this young hand grow.
Next on the news at 10, it's Clash of the Giants at Flushing Meadows as Serena Williams battles former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki in the US Open Women's Final. That will be in sports news. Please join us again.